everyone, and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making pear juice, and I thought I would bring you guys along, show you how I go about this process. So at my parents' house on the farm where I grew up, there is two really big pear trees. The pear trees are probably 80 to 100 years old. I have no idea. But they're huge and they produce a lot of pears. Depending on the year, some years they produce more than others. This year, one of the pear trees has produced an enormous amount of pears. There's two different varieties of pears. There's one that's more of a Bartlett type of pear, which ripens a little earlier, and if you're not ready for those, they'll end up falling on the ground and making a huge mess. The other one, which is this pear, clings to the tree a little longer. This is we don't know the variety of pear that this is. It does turn yellow when it's super ripe, but it takes a very long time. And it's already the middle of October and these are still green on the tree, but they're filled with juice. We like to eat them just like this, even though they're a little bit green and crunchy. But they're so good. I've made pear sauce out of these, and pear sauce is amazing. It tastes really, really good. So I don't wait for them to turn yellow because they'll probably end up falling off the tree before that happens. And if not, we actually end up getting a freeze before they actually ripen to a yellow. So today I'm going to be using these because I picked about a bushel of pears the other day. I'm going to use some of them for pear juice. Pear juice is really good. It's healthy for you. These are organic. These are grown organically. Nothing's ever been sprayed on the trees. I do wash them and I put them in a sink full of water, but I add a little bit of vinegar to my sink, which I have a bunch of them already. They're just soaking in there for right now. And that just kind of cleans them really well because, you know, it is a farm, so there's always dust and debris in the air. So just to make sure that they're good and clean, I always put a little splash of vinegar in my water, and that just helps to clean them really well because I'm going to be keeping the skins on them for this process. I have a steam juicer, which is a 3-part juicing system. Let me show you what I mean. So there's 3 parts to this. This is the bottom where we're going to fill this with about 5 quarts of water, and this is going to go right directly on the stove. The water in here will start to boil and will produce steam, and then the next one is this, and this is where the juice is actually accumulated. Steam will go up through this funnel. It's almost like an angel food cake pan, but the steam will go up through this funnel and it will go into this colander type pan. So this is where we're going to be putting all of the pears. We're going to fill this thing full of pears. We're going to fill the bottom part full of water, and then we're going to let it do its thing. Now the middle part, you can see, has this little spout thing coming out the front, and this is what I hook my hose up to, and my hose is where I drain the juice because you don't want it to get too full. As the steam starts cooking on the pears and the pears start releasing their juices through the colander, the juice will start dripping down into here, and once this gets full enough, we can start emptying it out into another container. I'll show you the whole process in the meantime. So if you've never seen one of these before, because I know other people have said that they've never seen one before, you can just probably Google it. I think that's what I did. I just Googled steam juicers, and you can find a whole variety of them ranging in all different prices. So we're going to get going on this. What I'm going to be doing is taking my pears and cutting them in half like this, and then I just cut them in half again just like this. Now some of them still have the stems, and we're just going to remove the stem. Okay, we don't want to cook this. We don't want to cook the stem. It's okay if we leave the skins and the seeds in. Okay, one word about this is if you plan to use the the leftover, the sauce that this is going to make, you may want to peel these. You may want to remove the seeds. You may want to remove the seeds. If not, if you're not going to be using them, then you can just leave it and it won't affect the flavor of the pear juice. Alright, I think I'm right about full. I want to get as many in here as I can. But I still have to have the lid fit. So this doesn't hold a half bushel, maybe a half of a half. What is that, a peck? This one here, I just noticed had a bad spot. You don't want to put overripe fruit or fruit with bad spots in here. You want to make sure that your fruit is ripe, but not overripe, okay, for the best juice, for it to release its juice the best. So I'm going to call this full. I think it might be a little over full. I'm going to bring this over to the stove where I already have the bottom. It's over there. I already have the bottom with water in it and it's already boiling. Okay, so my water's been boiling, hopefully not too long, because I got to keep enough water in here that it doesn't evaporate everything. Before this is all cooked through, you want to make sure that you always have enough water in the bottom and not run it out. So you put this on top, make sure your spigot is pointing out towards you. Put the lid on, which, yep, I was right. I have a few too many because there's a little gap here, which I'm probably going to end up taking a few out because this is a steam method. You want to build up that steam, and I think steam's going to release here, so it's not going to work quite as effectively. But once they do cook down just a little bit, enough, I'll add the rest and we'll just cook it that way. Normally what you want to do is fill it and leave it. You don't want to add to it. But I'm just going to add, there's only a few here, so I'm just going to add those in a few minutes. There we go. Now we're just going to let this boil. I have the heat on high, so it's going to just boil and steam, and you'll start seeing it and you'll start smelling it, and it's going to be good. I'll bring you back in a few minutes and show you what it looks like. Okay, so it's been a few minutes. Actually, it's probably been about 15 minutes. This has been boiling away. I added the other pears, and now it's just doing its thing. I'm going to bring you in closer, and we're going to look to see if there's any juice in the middle reservoir yet, and if there is, if it needs to be siphoned off. This here is the hose. I have the hose hooked up, and there is like this clamp that you put on the hose, and it clamps it so that none of the juice can come out. It also has just like a little hook that you can hook it to the handle somehow. I always hook it on this side and just keep it out of the way, and that way it's not just hanging down all the time. But I'm going to release this. We're going to take a look to see what it looks like, and I may end up looking to see how much water has evaporated from the bottom one, and we'll just kind of decipher what to do. So I'm just going to lift the top one right up and see if you can see any juice. See that juice under there? I don't want to take it too far away. There is some. Let me look at the bottom one here a second. Oh, we've got plenty of water in the bottom. So now I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any enough juice in here where it will siphon out. You can just do this by pinching the, you can do this by just pinching this hose clamp, and that will allow it to come out or release it. I'm going to put it in a saucepan, I'm actually just going to take the clamp right off. I don't like to use it very much. And see, sometimes I find that it needs a little bit of help just to get it started. I don't know what it is, just to get it running. And as you can see, it is coming out. Of course, I gotta keep it at a lower level than this so it runs out. So there is some. We're emptying it out. Whoops. And if I place it up any higher, it'll stop flowing. So it's kind of fussy that way. And have this on it is helpful because this hose gets really, really hot. But we're just about it. That looks like enough. It looks like I'm at just over a quart right now of juice. So this has a long ways to go yet. This is what the juice looks like. It's just like this golden color. So this has a little while to go yet. I'm just gonna keep it boiling and keep running off any extra juice. And yeah, that's pretty much as easy as it is. The pears are completely finished, boiled down, all the juice is out. Here's what it ends up looking like. It's just this golden delicious. Now I don't do anything with this juice. I am going to preserve it and can it without adding any flavor or any sugar to it. So I'm bringing this up to a boil. I have my water bath canner also coming up to a boil. I have sterilized my jars. They are ready to go. I have lids and some hot water. Those will be ready to go. And we're just going to process this in a water bath canner for 5 minutes. That's all it's going to take. Once this gets up to a boil, so it's good and hot, we're going to pour it in these jars. And yeah, once we have them all full, we'll put them in here. We'll bring this up to a boil, and once that hits a boil, we will boil it for 5 minutes. Set my timer for 5 minutes. And this pear juice you can do pretty much anything with. You can put it in your smoothies, you can drink it just like this, you can add it to different recipes. The sky's the limit on what you want to use it for. But it tastes so good, just like this. Some people may want to put a little bit of sugar in it, but I don't. I just leave it like this. You can always season it later when you go to use it. The juice is boiling and is ready to go in jars, so I'm going to go ahead and ladle it right into my pint-sized jars. I'm using pint-sized today. Now I forgot to mention that if you want to use the leftover pears, you can run them through a sieve and make like pear sauce. I will probably be dehydrating it and make like a pear leather with that. That way you're pretty much using the whole fruit and you're not wasting anything. You can also use this juice for making jelly. So when it calls for a certain amount of juice, you can just use this. Be sure not to add any sugar or anything to the juice if you're going to use it for jelly. Oh, looks like I got 5.5 pints. This is what it looks like. Looks like I got 5.5. I'm probably just gonna put this in the refrigerator and use it up within the next few days. And then I'll process these 5. Be sure to wipe the rims off in case you got any of the juice on the outside. Also check for any nicks or cracks in your jars. You might want to do that before filling them, but now is a good time to do it as well. And then we put the lids on. And I don't boil these, I just get them in hot water. That way the rubber is soft and easy to mold onto the jars. And then we just fingertip tight these bands on. They're ready to go. They're very hot. And you want to probably leave a 1/2 inch head space. I probably did a little more than 1/2 inch. So my water bath canner is boiling and ready to go. I'll stick these in. Put the lid on, wait for it to come to a rolling boil, And then once it does, we'll set the timer for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, we'll take the jars out, let them sit on your counter at room temperature for 24 hours before taking the rings off. After that, you can wash them and label them and put them in your pantry. Thank you all for watching. Hope you give this a try. If you do, you can leave it in the comments below, or let me know how you make fruit juice as well. I will see you in the next video, and until then, be blessed.